See, anytime someone's wearing jeans with a blazer, I joke that they're serious about being casual. I didn't invent that. They came from a movie or TV show, but I'm just like...
That's kind of like the mullet thing with the...
Party in the front, or business in the front, party in the
back.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes sense that it would have been in porn in the 80s because, it's a business, but it's fucking. So...
The business of fucking.
That's right.
Alternate title for Boogie Nights.
That might be a better title. See, you came up with a better title for Buster Scruggs, better title for Boogie Nights.
What was Buster Scruggs? I don't even remember.
Buster Scruggs was Prairie Dogs and Sadness.
Welcome to Spoiler Peace Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Evan Crean. I am editor for The Independent. I am co-chair of BAFCA and co-author of your 80s movie guide to better living.
Hi, I'm Megan Kearns. I'm a freelance writer and film critic, editor of Bitchflix, and I'm also a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
I'm Dave Riedel. I write for Salt Lake City Weekly and Orlando Weekly, and I'm a member of BAFCA also.
Yeah, you are.
That's right.
I don't know why so often when you say things, I'm like, yeah, you do, or yeah, you are.
Yeah.
It's very validating.
It's kind of our thing.
Yeah. So we've got some movies to talk about this week. I would say knee deep in screener season in the build up to our voting in the BAFCA Awards.
Oh yeah, maybe waist
I'm ass deep.
Oh, ass deep, nice.
Ass deep up in this motherfucker.
So we've been watching a shit ton of movies, and I use that as a clinical term.
Yeah,
we've been watching a lot. So
similar to a metric shitload.
It's actually really awesome because it means that more of us have seen the same movies. So this will make for a good episode, I hope.
Yes, a livelier.
We're going to talk about Queen and Slim a little bit just because I had a chance to catch up with it since Megan talked about it, I believe, last week.
Yes.
We're going to talk about Dark Waters, which Megan and I saw. And then we're going to talk about two of the big movies that came out this week. We're going to talk about Bombshell and Uncut Gems.
Wait a minute. I haven't seen any of these movies.
Oh, crap.
Fail.
I had to.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
I dig it.
So.
Oh, boy, you got me.
Yeah.
Shenanigans.
Some tomfoolery.
I call shenanigans and tomfoolery.
A little ballyhoo.
Yeah. No more ballyhoo.
For some reason, I feel like the next thing I should say is no running by the pool. I don't
Yes.
know why that's where my mind goes to. So I guess let's start with Queen and Slim, which I had a chance to catch up with. I really liked it. I just thought it was a really compelling movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just feel like everything that you said about it, Megan, I was thinking as I was watching it, particularly this scene where her uncle is, hitting one of the sex workers who works for him.
Oh God.
And she says, no, let's just leave it alone. Like, let's not go. I was like, damn. I respect that the movie really just jumps right into the action though. They're on the date and then it's just right there. The thing, the cop they kill the cop in self-defense and then it's just, they're off and running.
Yeah. It's in like the first 10 minutes. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. And I like that their relationship progresses almost like they've been dating over like a long period of time, just over this couple of days span. And it's interesting to see how they play off each other and how they influence each other and take on each other's characteristics.
Yeah, I read a review that talked about how they start off in these very rigid roles and then they almost reverse. Like they each become each other in a way.
Yeah.
And I thought that was such a great point and really, really a good one to make.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, it's tense. They're on the run from the cops, going state to state, not, worrying if they're going to get caught. And the end is just heartbreaking, too, when they're on the tarmac waiting for that plane. And the cops close in on them and shoot and kill them both. It's fucking heartbreaking.
That ending is very divisive, too.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. From what I've read, yes.
Yeah, I think so. That's one of the things I want to talk about in this segment is that and talking to Kristen Halbert, who's been on the show, she was just sharing with me that some black film critics really don't like this movie, and they have like a lot of great commentary about it. Some of what I read is with regard to the film's politics and feeling very surface level examination of a lot of these concepts like police brutality. I think of the scene where the young man who they meet at the garage, whose father is working on their car,
Junior.
he goes to the protest and he
Yep.
shoots the cop in the head, and he's in turn killed. I see that perspective, and I'm really glad that she shared it with me and brought it up. And I encourage our listeners to check out some takes from black film critics about this film, because it was just really interesting, and it really made me think about the film in a different light. A film that I really enjoyed, coming from my perspective. It's always great to read other people's perspectives and takes on the film. And yeah, I can totally see the criticisms and that how it feels very surface level. In some ways, it feels like it kind of trivializes this situation or turns it into something that's more entertainment than it should be, where it should be more of a serious drama and examination of the toll that police brutality and violence takes on people of color. So I totally get it. And I'm really glad that I've read more about it, and I encourage you guys to read about it too. And I think that's all I have to say.
I haven't seen it. I don't have anything to say.
Someday you will.
Yeah.
Someday.
You'll be shedding your tears to cry on me.
But what I love is that this film is eliciting such so many passionate conversations and such discourse on this topic. So whether you liked it, whether you hated it, whether you fall somewhere in the middle on the spectrum, I think it's great that it's causing so much discussion.
I think it's great right now. We're having so I know a lot of people are really down on Netflix and the idea of being able to watch things at home and not going to the cinema. And while I totally understand the perspective, I think there's a lot of really great discourse happening right now because of Netflix, because people are able to watch Marriage Story and The Irishman, movies that they may not have gone out of their way to see, but they have the ability to watch it at home. And so I feel like a lot more people are talking about them in ways that they probably might not if they were held in a traditional setting. I don't know if you guys agree with that. I've been seeing a lot more conversation about both movies, both positive, negative, what have you, and I think it's really awesome that people were talking about films and having such strong reactions to them one way or the other.
Absolutely. I mean, I've never been of the mindset that you have to go to the theater to see a film. I mean, yes, of course I love movie theaters. Of course I think people should, if they can, support independent theaters and art house cinema.
Yeah.
But at the same time, not everybody lives in a place where they can do that. Not everybody has the time. There are people with mobility disabilities that can't do that. And I think what's great about streaming services, whether you support Netflix or not, or all of the myriad streaming services, I do think what they provide is access in a way for audiences and also for filmmakers that they might not get otherwise. Ava DuVernay has talked very openly, and she has a deal with Netflix. She's talked very openly about how Netflix allows marginalized filmmakers to have their films seen that they would not be able to have seen to such a wide audience in theaters otherwise. And I think that's really important because these conversations are important, and no group is a monolith, no people are a monolith, and we need diverse perspectives and audiences and filmmakers and having these great conversations. So I agree. I think it's really important for more people to have more access to films.
I mean, and then selfishly for me at work, where I feel like not that many people are into movies. Now people are watching movies and wanting to talk to me about them. So that's selfishly exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, people be like, this Scorsese guy, I saw The Irishman. Hey, Mean Streets was pretty good.
Said almost no one.
I kind of like Taxi Driver. So, that's where You Talking to Me comes from? Oh. I know people who don't know where that comes from. So. All right.
I heard that De Niro got that from Bruce Springsteen.
No, I know who you meant.
You just gave me a look like, what?
Yeah, well, when you said Bruce, the first thing I thought of was that song, They Call Me Bruce by Rick Springfield.
See, I thought of Lenny Bruce at first.
So we all went different places.
Yeah.
Okay, I should have been more specific, guys. Then I guess let's move on to Dark Waters.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Megan, thoughts? Like, dislike, in between?
So, okay. I love Carol so much, which Todd Haynes directed, and he directed Dark Waters.
Yeah.
And I was so underwhelmed by Dark Waters. It was not for me. I was not a fan of the acting. I was not a fan of a lot of the dialogue. The only thing I like the topic. That it's
my God, is
the
it
topic
a compelling
is
topic?
amazing.
We'll talk about it in a
Yeah,
second.
we will talk about it in a second. And I love the ending, the very, very last scene. And I can talk more about that. Why about that later. But yes.
Yeah, well, first let's tell the listeners what this film is about. So our plot summary here: a corporate defense attorney, Mark Ruffalo, takes on an environmental lawsuit against a chemical company that exposes a lengthy history of pollution, and this is based on a true story.
Yes.
It's more specifically based on a New York Times Magazine's article, "The Lawyer Who Became DuPont's Worst Nightmare" by Nathaniel Rich. I think that this, unfortunately, does kind of fall into a boilerplate kind of situation for this type of film. You've got the person who knows that something's wrong.
Right.
They're fighting tooth and nail to get everybody to listen to them and to make a difference while everything is just kind of getting in their way.
Right. Yeah, it's very formulaic. And I think what's interesting is seeing this while having just seen The Report with Adam Driver, a film I liked a lot more. And it's hard not to compare when I saw them almost back to back. But yeah, this for me was a bit too formulaic. Some of the acting is just kind of overacting. Some of the dialogue is cliched, and it made me kind of sad because I love Todd Haynes. There are a lot of great actors in this, and it's a great story.
It is. It's a compelling story, and it's one of those ones where you see it and you think, how the fuck did I not hear more about this? I mean, I was sentient in the early 2000s. How did I not know about this story? How did more people not know about the story? It's kind of insane. I mean, DuPont had all of these chemicals they were dumping into the environment that were poisoning people, including in the, as the movie reveals, in Teflon, which everyone fucking had in their house in their pots and pans. And they knew it was wrong, and they knew it was dangerous. They knew it caused cancer, and yet they were doing it under the nose of the government because the EPA didn't even know that these chemicals were caustic because DuPont never revealed that. And yeah, that's a fucking compelling story.
It's called capitalism, Evan.
I know. It still makes me angry. But yeah, so Mark Ruffalo, he finds out, it starts with innocently enough with a case of this farmer.
Is it Bill Camp?
Bill Camp. And his cows are dying because the DuPont plant, which is nearby, is clearly dumping something into the water. His cows have cancer and they're dying and they're rabid. And
they're rabid?
Oh yeah, he has to shoot them. It's horrifying.
It's horrible. Let's not.
It's awful.
Let's not dwell on the animal death.
If you're queasy about animal death, don't watch it or skip over it.
Yes. So anyway, so it starts out with this case of like his cows are dying. And so he finds Mark Ruffalo because he knows Mark Ruffalo's grandmother. And he just shows up at his law office, and Mark Ruffalo works for a big corporate firm that defends the DuPonts of the world. Yeah. And he shows up with like a box of VHS tapes, and he was like, watch these tapes. Like, I need you to take this case on. Your grandmother told me about you. And Mark Ruffalo's like in the middle of a meeting. He's like, no, I'll give you a referral to somebody. But I forget what exactly spurs him. I think he goes to see his grandmother, and his grandmother says something about it. And he's like, okay, well, this guy does know my grandma, so I'd like owe it to her basically to check it out.
Oh, it's the farm he grew up on. Like she would take him and I think his sibling or something
That's
to
right.
that farm.
To this specific farm.
Yeah.
And so he goes to check it out, and he realizes that this is a serious thing, and this guy does have a case.
Yeah.
And let's not fail to mention all of the cow graves.
Oh yeah,
there are like 200 or 150 cow graves.
He says, he has one of those accents. I used to just bury them, and then you just like it just pans, and you just see all these mounds where cows are buried, and he's like, then I had to start burning them.
Yeah,
it's fucking tragic. You also find out that his brother owned the land next to them, and he was a ditch digger for DuPont, and then got cancer and died, and they bought the land, and so that's how they had more land where they were dumping these chemicals to get into the stream.
Oh boy,
which poisoned him and his family. So he died of cancer. This farmer, his wife, I think, got sick with it, and we assume that his daughters would probably get sick from it too. It's fucking heartbreaking. It's just totally messed up. So I think what is most interesting is seeing Mark Ruffalo's character doing the legwork to figure all this stuff out.
Oh, I love movies about legwork.
So at first he's getting discovery from DuPont, and they think, okay, we're going to screw him over by burying him in paperwork. And there's literally a full room just filled with banker boxes.
Sure.
Floor to ceiling. And he just starts with one box, and he opens it, and then he starts with Post-it notes, and he's sorting into piles. And then over the course of the film, the room is all neatly organized, and there's binders and shelves, and like all the boxes are cleared out.
Yeah.
And then that's when he's weaving this narrative, and he figures out in the course of this research, there's this chemical they keep talking about. That's what this chemical is. It ends up in Teflon, and then like he just puts all the pieces together. And there's I found that scene entertaining where he was explaining it. He kind of loses his shit, and he's like in the middle of the night, like tearing up the floor in his house and rooting around the cupboard for the pots and pans. And his wife, Anne Hathaway, comes down and she's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And he's like, "You're going to think I'm crazy, but sit down," because he's like already been kind of into this case and has been obsessive about it, but she just thought he was crazy. And he's like, "Sit down, because I'm going to tell you something, and like, please listen, because it'll make sense."
Well, first he says like, "We're being poisoned,"
Yeah.
and she's like, and she's pregnant, and she's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And she's like, "I'm not going to listen to this nonsense." Yeah.
So he sits down to explain it, and it just cuts between him explaining it to his wife, and I think explaining to Tim Robbins and the other people at his law firm, because Tim Robbins is like, I guess, the head partner at his law firm. He does have like this kind of ridiculous speechifying moment, Tim Robbins does, where he asks, he says to everyone else, he talks sense to everyone else and says, "Look, this corporation, we caught them doing something wrong, and we owe it to people to pursue this," and blah 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 blah. It's a speechifying moment. I still enjoyed it. I still liked that Tim Robbins got his speech and told everyone that this is the time to act. If we don't do it, like, we're wrong.
This is why we're lawyers.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's a multi-year case. It lasts 10 years at least?
12. Yeah, and actually technically it's still not over, because then then there are the jury cases after that.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
for
So
each
basically
individual
this lawyer
case.
in real life, he's still fighting for these people and has continued to fight for these people, because they at one point reached a settlement with DuPont where DuPont said, "All right, take everybody in this area and get their blood tested, and if you can confirm that they all have these diseases and they're a result of these chemicals, we'll pay for these people's medical treatment," which they renege on later. But basically what it leads to is him collecting 60,000 blood samples, and they were able to definitively, after 5 years time or 4 years or something?
I think 4 years.
They're able to definitively trace these chemicals to these cancers and say this specific thing caused this.
But then
tenacity.
Exactly. Yeah. But then DuPont's like, no, we're reneging on everything. And then that's where the film ends. Is there are 3,535 cases, and he's just got to start
individually suing DuPont.
Yeah. And
wouldn't it be easier to do a class action, or this was a class?
This was a class action.
This was the end result, was that they did all this blood testing, independent commission, all that jazz.
How can DuPont be like, nah? How does that work?
I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. I guess that's how they can do it.
That is exactly how they do it. They just decide, nah, we're not going to do it.
Yeah, but they did eventually. So the first case, he got a jury award of $1.6 million, then the second $5.6 million, and so on. And then DuPont finally settled all of the cases for $670.7 million.
So $671 million for 3,500 cases. So we'll assume that's a family each. Well, that's should probably get more.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, I mean, especially considering that not only were they poisoning, the people, but their families and their children, and it was
and their livestock.
And their livestock was happening like in perpetuity. Yeah, and then there was another horrifying facet of the case where women who worked at DuPont were like taken off of working
with the chemical,
and then they were all put back on, and it was because there were women who were pregnant and they were giving birth and having birth defects.
They basically
Jesus
did it because they
Christ.
wanted to see what would happen, essentially.
Yeah.
And then these women had children with like the same birth defects. Yeah,
I am sitting here mouth agape at that factoid.
No, there's so much that he uncovers in this research that's so twisted. Here's one of the more fucked up things. So they realized early on that it could cause cancer. So what they did was they laced a bunch of cigarettes with this chemical and then gave it their employees and told them to smoke it just to see what happened.
Yeah.
Like, that alone should be enough to shut this company down.
Human trials.
Yeah, against their will. Like, not telling them, not informing them.
Yeah, they're like,
nothing.
here's some special cigarettes. Smoke these.
You know, now this is, cigarettes are my one true love.
Sorry, Joan.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, oh, poor Joan.
Yeah, I know. She tells, whenever I tell people that I used to smoke or they ask me if I ever smoked, she'll be like, yeah, there is one true love. She chimes right in there because I don't think she likes it that I've said that before. But anyway, I still would, if someone walked up, if I bummed a cigarette off somebody, that's one thing. But if somebody walks up to me and is like, hey, smoke the cigarette, I'd be like, what'd you smoke my ass, motherfucker? What the fuck is this shit?
You'd be suspicious.
Yeah. Be like, oh, here, have a cigarette. Nobody, no smokers. Like, yeah, take my smokes, so they'll give it to you if you ask. But they won't just offer it up.
You wouldn't even smoke that acid-laced cigarette from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
I might. I mean, if it's 1969 and I'm, a failed stuntman, sure.
Mm-hmm. All hell's breaking loose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might as well.
So, yeah, this movie is very formulaic. It's very, it follows the expected beats. I agree. Some of the dialogue is not great. Some of the acting is over. Acting.
Yeah.
Anne Hathaway
acting.
Specifically
Oh
playing
my
the
God.
put upon wife who's always angry that he's not focusing on their marriage and their children. And it's so cliche. It's just so, I don't know, boring when that's the case.
It is cliche, but do you know how many people, whichever spouse, have lobbed that accusation at the other spouse? Constantly. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, formulaic, yes, but unrealistic?
I'm not saying it's unrealistic, but since it's a trope, if you will, do something different with it. Do something more interesting.
You don't
and
have to
engaging.
use that. You don't have to go. If you're,
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying,
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I just feel like so often when you make a movie that's based on a true story, you get an opportunity to editorialize. And I know there's so many instances where that goes wrong and whole people are invented that weren't there and things didn't happen.
Ooh,
Green
you
Book.
mean like Bombshell?
Yes, that too. But it's just, okay, so be smart about it and use it in situations where you could make things more interesting or to defy the tropes.
Yes.
Make the wife supportive the whole time. Or whatever. I don't know, do something else. Just do something different. Or make it more nuanced than maybe she agrees with it at first, but after 10 years she's like, you know what? I was on board with this, but fuck it. This is too much.
Yeah. I mean, my big problem is the acting and the writing, I think. I think
so two major components.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I liked it.
I think
I'm in the
if I can get
minority.
around to it, I still will.
Yeah, I'm in the minority. Most people do like it. So, I mean, I was, like I said, the story is horrifying and fascinating. So if nothing else, it's worth watching because
for awareness sake.
Right. Like I remember the case against Teflon and I remember some of it, but not to this extent. So yeah, for that alone, I think it is worth watching.
Agreed. So then perhaps let's move on to Bombshell.
Bombshell!
I just said that, movies, you said that movies make up whole characters, and then you said Green Book, and I said Bombshell, but I haven't seen Bombshell.
What?
Wait, what?
No, I have.
I was like, damn it, Dave, we talked about seeing this.
Yeah, no, I saw it. I watched it this morning.
Did you wish you hadn't seen it?
No, I think
I kid.
I think it could have been a whole lot better.
It would have been potentially if different filmmakers.
Yeah, I think that this is the same screenwriter who wrote The Big Short, which I liked The Big Short. Is it The Big Short that he wrote? I think so.
I think so.
And then Jay Roach directed this, and I don't trust anybody who directed the 3 Austin Powers movies. I just don't.
Anyway.
So let's start with the plot synopsis, and then let's dig into it because I agree with things that you guys have said. A group of women, I don't love this plot summary, but I'm reading it. I'm already halfway reading it. A group of women decide to take on Fox News head Roger Ailes and the toxic atmosphere he presided over at the network. I mean, they're women who work there. There were women who work for Roger Ailes and have been the victims of his sexual harassment and abusive fucking behavior. I agree with you. I wish a better filmmaker made this movie, because I think my gripe about it is that I feel like it's acting like a comedy. It's this weird.
Yes.
It's like a parody of the movie that it should have been. It's just all these kind of winking moments with like stunt casting and camera moves
and breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah, where you think like,
I'm not a big.
I shouldn't be
No.
laughing about this. Like like this is a moment in time where we should be having serious conversations about this, about Me Too, about sexual harassment, and this is a fucking movie that was made.
I think these people think it's serious.
Who?
Jay Roach. I don't think that he thought he was just like, oh yeah. I mean, he's like, I'm making my statement film.
I think there is some of that, but I think he also is like, wink, wink. I'm gonna make my cutesy jokes.
Yeah.
Because one of the assistants to Charlize Theron playing Megyn Kelly says, "Oh man, I wish someone would slut shame me." And I was like, and that's like within the first 10 or 15 minutes in the film.
Assistant.
Yeah. And I'm like, this movie can go fuck itself already. I'm like, I'm already pissed off at it. I'm like, this is a piece of shit. And I'm angry. And yeah.
So we know where you're coming from.
Understandably.
Yeah. And also, I know we're going to dig in more, but I have to say the other thing that absolutely infuriated me about this film is Roger Ailes is not sympathetic. Do not make him sympathetic. Do not make him
I didn't think he was sympathetic.
Really?
No.
The scene where Rupert Murdoch's like, no, you can't go and you can't go back to your office and say goodbye to everyone. There's a shot that lingers on him being like, oh, poor me.
Oh,
I
didn't feel sympathy for him at all.
No, I didn't feel sympathy either. That's not what I'm saying. I think that Jay Roach is
I don't know.
doing it that way.
I kind of just felt like that moment was to rub it in. To be
Yeah,
like, fuck
that's kinda
that
how I
guy.
felt.
Fuck that guy. Rupert Murdoch is like, fuck you,
Yeah.
asshole.
Yeah.
You think you're going to come back to work after this bullshit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any
Not the way
movie
I
that can make
saw
Malcolm McDowell unrecognizable and make me go like, hey, wait a minute, is that Malcolm McDowell?
I was
Then,
so
you
excited
know.
to see him there. I just thought perfect casting. There is some stunt casting in this movie for sure.
Yes.
Fucking Richard Kind is Rudy Giuliani.
Oh my god, just horrible. Horrible. Like if you wanted a list of actors and it's like, here's 17 people to play Rudy Giuliani, fucking Richard Kind would be like number 6 billion. I mean, just the fucking he's only Richard Kind. That's all he can do. And he's great at it.
And I love him
but
for
that's what he does, you know?
Yeah, there's just distracting makeup in this movie. Yeah, the breaking the fourth wall. I mean, Charlize Theron, though, I found her with the makeup almost unrecognizable as, like, I feel like I was watching Megyn Kelly.
Oh, she's outstanding.
Like, she's really, like, the women in this film are really good. Her, Nicole Kidman, Margot Robbie, I thought were really good.
All three of them are outstanding, I think. I mean, they're all amazing actors in and of themselves, but I think they're amazing here, too.
But here's one of the problems I had with the movie. When you've got, Charlize Theron, who doesn't look like Megyn Kelly,
No,
who ends
she
up
doesn't.
looking and sounding like her so much that you're kind of like, wait a minute, is that like archival footage? For a moment, it's like,
Right.
But then I
right.
sort of have the problem with it that I had with the Churchill movie that Gary Oldman was in, where he starts to suck the life out of the movie because everybody else is just a fucking dud
Yeah.
in that story. But so this is what the point I was making, though, is like she is like fucking all in, and then you've got Nicole Kidman, who looks like Nicole Kidman playing Gretchen Carlson.
Yes.
And it's just like, all right, are we going all in on everybody? The guy who plays Neil Cavuto looks like Neil Cavuto, even the fucking guy who plays Bill O'Reilly looks like Bill O'Reilly.
Oh my God, for a quick
It's
second,
creepy.
I thought it was Bill
Yeah.
O'Reilly. Like,
So,
it was,
like,
yeah,
what are
uncanny.
these choices? What are these makeup choices?
Right.
I mean, I know Nicole Kidman really kind of only looks like Nicole Kidman, even with a fake nose. But
And a chin. I feel like they did her chin, too.
I was thinking about what's the
The
movie where
Hours.
she plays Virginia? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
That fucking piece of shit. That's right. We can debate that after.
I've
Yeah.
never seen it, so
right.
it's fine.
But yeah, I
Let's
agree.
debate it anyway, though.
I mean, the women in this film are amazing. I love the scene where they're all in the elevator together.
That was
I love
great.
the scenes where they're passing each other and
Yep.
kind of skeptically checking out the other one, thinking, "Oh, she's going to Roger's office. I wonder what's happening in there."
Mm-hmm. I mean, the scene where Margot Robbie is doing the interview with John Lithgow playing Roger Ailes
Oh, the
is
skirt.
holy fuck.
That scene is so tense.
So tense, so
Yeah.
disturbing.
Yeah.
Margot Robbie is on the verge of tears the whole time. She's amazing.
That scene is like one of the ones that they got right.
Yes.
That they really got right.
I completely agree.
So creepy. Even the way he's like breathing and he's like grunting. It's like, oh.
Yeah, it's vomit inducing.
He's like, I didn't always look like this. Well, so what?
It doesn't fucking matter.
I
You're
know.
still
Agreed.
gross inside. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But yeah, no, that scene is fantastic. If the whole film was at that level, I would have loved this. It would have been outstanding.
We should mention that she's the made-up character.
Yes.
Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
she
she is the worst thing that we see on screen. Like she has the moment where she's in his office, and like everyone else, we understand their backstory from kind of passing comments or when they all kind of come forward and make the case against him.
Yeah.
But oof, boy, that scene. Agreed. If the movie was operating at that level the entire time, that's the seriousness. That's the level of movie we need to be at, not whatever
100%.
else we fucking got with this shit.
Yeah, or like the throwaway comment in the beginning when Charlize Theron's narrating and the guy passes her and says, "Nice dress," and she's like, "He's not horny, he's just ambitious." And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
There's so many. I feel like I'm getting whiplash because there's so much tonal shifts, so many tonal shifts in this
There's
film.
also just inherent complications of making a story about conservative women in this situation, and because like,
oh my god, I want to talk about this.
It is, yeah. There's a lot of. It's a very tangled situation between like the politics of it and the just I don't know what to say, the actualness of the situation. I'm failing at words, but you know what I mean?
I do, yeah.
Their political opinions kind of conflict with this idea that they're all kind of coming forward and outing this guy.
Right. And I mean, coming forward about any kind of rape, assault, sexual harassment, anything is
shouldn't be political.
That's not what I was going to say.
Oh, sorry.
But, yeah, but you're right. But I mean, I think it's incredibly commendable anytime someone comes forward if they want to. And I want to stress that because you don't have to come forward if you don't feel safe or comfortable to do so. But if you do come forward and speak out, that is phenomenal and brave and takes guts and all of that. Having said all of that, these women are being, applauded in this film, which is great. They did a great thing. However, these women have horrendous opinions and stances that do not support justice for all women. They don't support marginalized women. They don't support queer women or women of color or impoverished women or trans women or anything like that. So I have a problem watching this in and of itself without it kind of digging into that a little bit more with some more complexity and nuance. I mean, and the fact that we get twice in the first 5 minutes, Megyn Kelly in the film and her employees saying, "I'm not a feminist. She's not a feminist." Like, okay, we get it. You're not a feminist. Like,
yeah.
Anyway.
It's a weird line to walk. I do like that the movie, Shauna said this, I do like that the movie is on their side, though. I like because
the film is clearly
because this movie is so smug and I feel like annoying.
Good word.
It's annoying in the ways
that is a perfect encapsulation.
I think Shauna also used that word. I'll give her credit. In the ways that you expect liberals to make a movie about Fox News, and that haha, we're taking we got the moral high ground. We're making this movie. It's just. It's so annoying in that way. This smugness that it walks around in.
This is how I felt about Vice, which these people did not
Absolutely. Make. Yes, Vice, I had that problem for me too. It is the smug movie that you expect the quote unquote the libs to make. It's the movie that's, really trashing Dick Cheney, but it doesn't really trash Dick Cheney. That's the weird thing.
It doesn't.
It makes him not seem that bad, which I think is why it fails.
But that's the thing. I don't think this movie, even though it's made by liberals, I don't think it's trashing these women at all.
No, it's on their side, which I respect. That they're as smug as it is in other contexts, it's still supportive of women.
It is the thing, and I feel like including the character of Kate McKinnon, who's a lesbian closeted Democrat, I feel like they're trying to have, kind of engage in a conversation because Margot Robbie's character is, such a conservative, and she talks about how she's instrumental in or influential in the Jesus space. And so I feel like they're trying to engage in a conversation.
But she's also a lesbian.
Closeted, right? Absolutely. But that's the thing, and Kate McKinnon's, trying to talk to her about that, and so I feel like they're trying to have some nuance there, but it just doesn't really. It's not really executed that well. So.
What did you? I want to ask. What did you think about the situations where the women were talking to each other? I don't want to say confronting each other, but having difficult conversations about, like, for instance, when was it? Charlize Theron and Margot Robbie are sitting across from each other in
At
the
her cubicle,
and talking about, well, like, why didn't you come forward sooner?
I loved that.
I thought that was good.
I loved it. Again, that's the kind of high level that I wish the film were operating at the whole time, because that scene is outstanding. And the fact that Margot Robbie calls out Charlize Theron, like, what about the rest of us? Look at what your silence did. And she's like, it's not my job to save you. And I just thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, that was, I thought, really fascinating, and I wish there was more of those kinds of situations, because that, I feel like, is another way you make this a really compelling story.
100%, because that's the thing, is that it's such a thorny issue to have to navigate, and it isn't anybody's responsibility to save other people, but at the same time, how can you not question someone for not speaking out? Like, it's so complicated.
I have a practical question.
Ooh,
How can you have that conversation in a cubicle in an open office?
Without everyone hearing?
Come on.
Yeah, agreed. It is a practical
go get
problem.
coffee, like,
Right.
fucking, like, all right, I'm going to leave at 10:15. You leave at 10:22. I'll see you over at fucking Starbucks on 48th and 6th. You know?
Right, because you wouldn't want to go into the bathroom because that could be bugged, or who knows.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, Roger, I thought that part was very funny. The way that Roger Ailes was like a fucking conspiracy nut. That is something that he would probably talk about.
Yeah.
And you just hear him spouting these fucking insane conspiracy theories. That would be like, don't go in the bathroom, it's bugged.
Yeah, I like there was one conspiracy theory about the Obama White House, I think it was, trying to kill him.
Yes, yes.
And, like, everybody in the room is like, okay. Just like the look, like Allison Janney's face. It's just like, you dick, I can't believe I fucking work for you.
Well, that's what's also so interesting, is that she, even when she finds out that Gretchen Carlson, played by Nicole Kidman, has recorded their conversations, she looks horrified that he did this, but she still continues to work for him. And it's just, yeah.
We should have a lawyer to ask about how you get out of representing a client that you don't agree with anymore, but
If only we knew.
But that's, we'll find that out off the mic, and we'll tell you next week, or we'll have the lawyer on. Who knows? So Bombshell. I think that Margot Robbie yet again is giving an awards caliber performance. Man, she's good.
She's
so
always good. She's a fantastic performer in everything. I love her.
It's hard to believe she's Australian because she's so good at this, I mean, you guys know how I feel about Australians.
I don't actually.
No, I don't. Joan and I, all right, dumb short story. When you have small children, they want to hear the same stories over and over and over and over and over. So I started reading them all with different accents. And so,
nice.
And the ones that Henry thought were funniest were all the Australians I did. So, and every Australian that I read is an idiot, because I don't know how to just be like, do a Australian voice. It's got to be like, yeah, I'm stupid, so.
A dingo ate my baby.
Yeah, exactly. A dingo, except I'd say a gringo ate my baby because I'm dumb. So a gringo ate my baby. So anyway, that's why I now have internalized that all Australians are bad at what they do, or they're dumb or whatever, which is just ridiculous. It's because I have small children, I don't sleep much, and now my brain's gone to mush. And now back to your regularly scheduled spoiler piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Bombshell, wish it was better.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I feel like I came on super hard on it, and I still stand by that. But there are some really great scenes and some fantastic acting. But yeah, I agree. The stunt casting was very distracting and annoying.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, and the breaking the fourth wall. Yeah, anyway.
Oh, the fourth wall, man. Like, you're either doing it or you're not doing it.
Right.
This movie is just like, we'll do it maybe like twice.
Yeah, we'll do it a little bit.
Maybe we'll do it 3.
We'll dip our toe in.
Like, Megyn Kelly will, like, she'll talk to the camera at the beginning, but then it'll become a VO. And then we won't do it forever. And then fucking Nicole Kidman will do it in her last scene.
Yep.
Oh. God, I'm loath to give John Hughes, like, props for anything, but one thing he knew how to do was break the fourth wall. So just follow that example.
Or don't do it.
Or don't do it
right.
at all.
If you can't do it right, don't do it.
Yeah.
And I agree. John Hughes did it brilliantly.
Yeah, exactly. He did.
All right. So then why don't we move on to Uncut Gems?
Oh my
I didn't
God.
see Uncut Gems.
Damn it,
You
Dave.
totally saw it.
I did, yes.
Holy fucking shit, this movie.
So I felt like I was having a panic attack the entire time.
It's definitely got that vibe.
Yeah, I tweeted after I saw it, which I don't know when it was maybe like a month ago or so, that it was like frenetic and induced claustrophobic anxiety. Yeah, I loved this though, even though it's an uncomfortable experience watching it.
So I was so tense, I was physically shaking when the movie ended.
Same.
And I was sitting in a seat where there was no one sitting next to me, so large parts of the movie I was slumped over partially in the other chair because I was so afraid of the next thing that was going to happen.
Oh yeah, I had like my hands at my face, and I had like I think I was wearing like a scarf.
I think
or
I
something.
took off my glasses at one point and put them back on.
Yeah.
Like that's.
I was like pulling up my scarf almost over my head. I was like clawing at my neck. Yeah, it was.
It was also quite funny because I was at the Boston premiere where Adam Sandler, Kevin Garnett, and the Safdie brothers, and I got to say to Benny Safdie at the bar that, oh my God, your movie made me fucking slump over in another chair because I was so worried about what was going to happen next.
What did he say?
He said that was awesome.
I was just going to say that would be my prediction, and that he would like.
Yeah,
that.
he thought that was really great.
Yeah.
But Dave, it sounds like you're less hot.
No, I really liked it a lot.
Oh, yeah?
I think, you guys, this is a fucking, speaking of tropes, and I apologize, I saw the ending coming like a mile away.
Oh, same.
You know, and it was just like, and I these days when I see the ending coming, I'm kind of like, all right, I hope I'm wrong. And sometimes I'm wrong, you know, but I was like fucking so right about this. Like when I was like, okay, well, he's going to end up dead. I'm not sure how. But then when the guy brandishes the gun when they're stuck between the two pieces of bulletproof glass, I'm like, well, we know what's happening in 20 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
So I just, I just was like, all right, he's going to win the bet. I didn't know how they were going to get the money at once, like, the goon showed up at Mohegan, and they shot it at Mohegan.
I know. I cannot believe they shot it at Mohegan. That's
Shooting
amazing.
in casinos is a nightmare, but they did it. And, like, how are they going to get the money out? And that was kind of fun, how she, like, used the fucking creepy, like, guy with the leathery skin to get the money out.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I did like the way, though, that it was just, like, it was really haunting the way it was just, like, this person, this guy who is dog shit means nothing. This guy who's dog shit has put me out. Bang. That was, like, kind of creepy and sad.
Yeah.
You know?
I felt haunted by this movie. I was thinking about it all the next day.
And Eric Bogosian's death was even sadder, I'd say.
Yes. So why don't we back up for just a tick and just give the plot
he hired those
summary.
guys.
I know.
Yeah, but I mean,
I was like, they work for him.
But that's not a surprise to me because, I mean, if they're just going to have their own agenda, of course they're going to kill Eric Bogosian. So, yeah.
Well, they already killed Adam Sandler, so then they had to kill... I feel like they had to kill him because it's like, well, you've seen this happen.
I kind of had a feeling they were going to do it anyway.
So, Uncut Gems. A charismatic New York City jeweler, Adam Sandler.
Is he charismatic?
I was just going to say, is he charismatic?
I would say
don't
yes.
think so.
More on that in a moment. Always on the lookout for the next big score, makes a series of high-stakes bets that could lead to the windfall of a lifetime. Howard must perform a precarious, high-wire act balancing business, family, and roaching adversaries on all sides in his relentless pursuit of the ultimate win.
Who wrote that dog shit?
I don't know.
Because he's a fucking gambling addict.
Yes,
Right,
this
exactly.
film is a very dark examination of addiction
addiction,
and gambling addiction specifically. I would argue that he is charismatic in that, as a viewer, I found myself rooting for him even though I absolutely should not have, even though I knew that everyone in his life hated him, deservedly so.
Except Julia.
Except
Julie did not.
Jules. But everyone else hated him, and I got it. I understood why and felt they were all justified in their opinion of thinking that he was just a scum person.
I loved it when Idina Menzel was like, I hate that I have to look at your face.
Oh my God, I loved Idina Menzel in this role.
Yeah, she plays
it
his
was
wife.
Fantastic.
They're in the process of separating, and that scene is fantastic because he comes in and his girlfriend Jules has broken up with him. So he's like, maybe I'll make a play to get back with my wife. And he gives her these puppy dog eyes, and it seems like for a moment she's actually considering it. And she tears him a fucking new one, basically saying, I don't even want to touch you. I don't want to look at you. Like, I'm not doing justice to this, but her takedown is fucking epic.
Yeah, it's really
and then
great.
it immediately is followed by everyone else running into the room being like, oh, you look so pretty in that dress. And it's so amazing that she just guts him, and then it's like on to the next thing that's happening.
She's definitely learned how to compartmentalize, like somebody going through a divorce. So,
or someone dealing with someone with addiction.
Yeah, that too. I think that the reason he's charismatic is because he's played by Adam Sandler. I think that if you had like Willem Dafoe playing this part, he'd just be a fucking low-life piece of shit.
Yes. Yeah, someone like, Adam Sandler does have that to trade on, that he normally plays kind of goofy, lovable people, even if you don't love his movies, which I have not loved some of his more recent movies. Yeah, I still, it's so fucking weird that I still found myself rooting for him and was so sad when he got shot right after winning, because I just feel like he was always losing and always making the dumbest decisions. And then, of course,
but that was
the one time he makes the right decision.
No.
I mean, not
no,
the right
that's
decision.
still the wrong decision.
Yes. Correct in the sense that he was correct.
Right, in that it paid off.
But it was like the worst thing he could have done was throw that money out the window to Jules and have her go to Mohegan Sun.
When he could have just paid the bad guys and it would have been over.
And that would have been it, But he's just like too dumb, too much of an egomaniac, and too sunk into his fucking addiction to know what's good for him. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a lot of sympathy for people like that. Yeah. So it was a little bit more, having been one myself. It not the gambling, but it didn't really. I was just kind of like, I've seen this play out in real life too many times. So that being said, I thought it was supremely well made.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Beautifully written, stunningly acted.
Hella great editing.
Oh, the fucking
my God, the editing is
the cinematography
fantastic.
and the editing is unreal, because that camera, the way the camera never stops moving, and to have the editing be as seamless as it is, it's unreal. I mean, I don't know how many cameras they had going at every instance. I was reading this thing, and it was in the New Yorker, about when they were doing the street scenes, and they would try to clear out as many like regular pedestrians as they could and whatever. They couldn't always do it, and the Safdies devised this thing so that if anybody started gawking at Adam Sandler, they had like teams of extras waiting to see somebody gawk, and then they would go over and be like, excuse me, I'm lost. Can you tell me where the subway is?
That's amazing.
They would pretend they were like
That's
from
awesome.
Pittsburgh or whatever.
They were talking about that in the Q&A after the movie. They were saying that they kept the cameras very far away from the action, and they had some extras, but they just let people wander in. They didn't close anything off.
Right.
So it was just, there were I'm going to say innocent bystanders. There were just normal people walking around when he gets his ass kicked and thrown in the fountain.
Oh, man, that was amazing. When he gets like the fucking forearm in the throat, I was just, he's like, ah.
I thought for sure, like, I was like, oh my God, is he going to swallow his own Adam's apple?
That's
like,
what I thought too. But, oh man.
Yeah, it's fucking tense. I mean, Adam Sandler, I think, is really good in this.
I don't think I've ever seen him be better. I think this is his best performance I've ever seen.
For sure.
Yeah.
He's still Adam Sandler because he's Adam Sandler, but he's not Adam Sandler.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just, he sounds like him because that's what he sounds like.
Of course. Mm-hmm. But he does try to modulate his voice, and I think he transcends his typical
he has a great
persona.
Yeshivish accent. It's very like very subtle, New York Jewish kind of nebbishy accent that he has going on. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's very subtle, and I mean, it's
subtle is a word to use with Adam Sandler.
I was just gonna say
Who'd
it's not
have
a word
thought?
people expect from Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
They more expect subtle. I love that joke never gets old with you, Dave.
Oh, man. You know what? I've told you that it's because when I taught college and I taught the speech class, there was always one kid a semester who didn't know that it was pronounced subtle.
Aww.
They never put it together in their head. I can't believe they went 19 years without hearing that word. Mm-hmm. So,
I mean, I heard a grown person recently say epitome, so that was...
Oh.
Something is the epitome.
I heard somebody talking about a calliope and they said calliope. I was like, oh, boy.
I also had a boss pronounce paradigm, paradigm.
Oh,
See, now this is what's funny. My dad used to mispronounce movie words on purpose when I was a kid so that I would mispronounce them, and he thought that was funny. So we were reading a story once, and it was about a guy who had a yacht, and he kept saying yacht. And I was like, I don't think and I finally caught on. I'm like, isn't it called a yacht? Because I knew that a yacht was a boat, because
Right.
I'm like 7 years old. So, and he's like, yes, you got me. But,
Caught.
yeah, but
you're
he used
making
to,
connections, putting two and two together.
Yeah, he used to do that kind of stuff all the time. Like the Beatles, he called the Beatleys for years.
Beatleys.
So, I mean, yeah. Anyway.
I can't picture any of Adam Sandler's children in this movie getting close enough to him for him to be able to make those kinds of jokes.
I
They
know.
all, for the most part, loathe him. I mean, his sons kind of like him in a way, but it's clear that there's still a distance there. But his daughter is fucking amazing.
She is great.
The few scenes that she's in, it's just so clear how much she loathes him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, just the iciness is just so great. Who I don't know who that is who played the daughter, but she is amazing. So
Yeah. This, I was fucking blown away by it. It
Yeah,
just
this was-
immediately shot to the top of my list from this year.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
yeah.
This was riveting right from the opening. I love the transition from the gems to like his colonoscopy in the very beginning. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, everything about this is
I don't know
just
what
work.
I was expecting going in, but I don't think I was expecting that. So I was so shocked by that transition
Yeah.
from the diamond mine to it's inside his colon.
You know what?
I'm like, what movie am I watching?
Right?
All right, these guys are fucking crazy, but they have me.
I knew it was a colonoscopy. You know why? Because I've had one, and I know what a colonoscopy looks like.
All right.
So I was just like, I think that, I mean, that look, I didn't say that's a colon. I was just like, that kind of looks like a colon. That's, and it was. I was
It
like, oh my
is.
God.
You're like, I knew this.
That was one of those things that, like, I was kind of like, wow, it looks like I didn't predict. That
Right.
was, I don't want to give you the impression.
But the back Dave talking, going back Dave for a moment, talking about how you predicted the ending. I did too. Like I knew the ending pretty early on, and then in that scene when they're all in the store and he has them like, kind of
Stuck
separated.
between the
Yes,
doors.
Between the doors.
Exactly. Thank you. I knew that he wasn't going to make it out of there, but somehow I still was completely on board and riveted, and I still screamed when he got shot in the face. Like I'm still, and the fact that the film could do that, even though I knew where it was going, it went there and
Yeah.
still shocked me, even though I knew it. Brilliant.
Yeah. And I also appreciated how those two gun deaths is haunting, especially as, like I said, Eric Bogosian's was. It was like they were unceremonious.
Oh yeah.
It's just like, this is what happens when you shoot someone.
Yeah.
Not like fucking like arcs of, just like pink spray,
It's
Right.
fall to the ground.
It's not beautiful.
Yeah.
It's not artful.
I mean, Eric
It's
Bogosian's
just
is kind of sad because he almost looks like, oh my God, I got shot. And then he just kind of falls forward. And it's just like, ah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Adam Sandler he doesn't even have time to react.
Yeah.
No.
He's just shot in the face and he
Yep.
fucking falls dead. I do love how he's kind of like died with a smile on his face.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, and it's kind
disturbing.
of weirdly poetic the way that the film zooms in on the bullet hole in his face and then you're like in his bloodstream at the
Yeah.
end of it. I just thought that was really cool. It's not the kind of thing that I would normally think. I mean, you know me, I don't like things that are, I guess what I would describe as pretentious or,
This is the
like,
kind of thing that Danny Boyle would do wrong.
yes, I love Danny Boyle, but I could see that going wrong. So normally I wouldn't like this kind of thing, but I think I want to say that because it speaks to how well done this is. That
Exactly.
I'm on board with the symbolism in the beginning and the end and kind of the way that all kind of comes together and is part of this, this loop.
Right. And it's so masterfully and artfully done that it doesn't feel pretentious. Like even though under other filmmakers' hands it might.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Dave, you said earlier, seamless about the editing.
Yeah.
And everything does feel so seamless. Everything just flows and just works so well.
The other thing that was great is like, if you spend any time in New York, but if you live there for a long time like I did, and then you run into the people who are the gatekeepers, like the woman at the auction house who just is not putting up with his shit, and it's just like, I have met that person over and over, and it's just like so letter perfect
Yes.
the way they did that, because there's always, whenever you're feeling out of place, there's always somebody who's like, you're an idiot, you know? So
right. Take you
Anyway.
down a peg.
yeah.
But that's what I think is great too, is that the smallest role in this,
Oh yeah.
it just perfectly acted, perfectly cast. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a top 10. It'll be on my Bafka list.
Woohoo!
Will it be numero uno? I don't think so.
It's definitely top 5 for me.
The Safdies
can tell you.
will be in the top 3, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because this is, I saw I've seen some of their other movies, but the one that always sticks out is Good Time, because that is just such a quantum leap. I mean, it's so great. I don't know. Did you see Good Time, Megan?
I still need to see it.
I saw the beginning of it and I didn't finish it. Not because I didn't like it or didn't want to.
Yeah. Well,
didn't
Good
have
Time
time.
is
I
kind
ran
of
out of
like
time.
it's got a similar feeling of the frenetic, because Robert Pattinson is an idiot who's always doing the wrong thing, and he's trying to get out of having done the wrong thing and get over, and he never does, and it's just got that same like, building and building and building and building and building until the end when it's just like, he doesn't die, but but then it has a very different. There is a coda during the end credits, which is actually kind of sweet in a way.
Oh,
yes, that doesn't involve him, but anyway,
Yeah, I feel like this movie, Uncut Gems, is compelling me to go at least watch High Life at the bare minimum.
Oh, that's good. Watch High Life.
Because now I'm thinking, okay, I really missed out on that last year. I know a lot of people were talking. Was it last year or 2 years ago? I can't remember. A lot of people were talking about it. I should see it. I found Uncut Gems really compelling. So now I feel like if I like this, I should go watch High Life.
So wait, when was Good Time then? I don't even.
That was a few years
was
ago.
Was that 3 years ago? 4
I think it
years
was
ago?
4. I think it was
Oh,
2015.
Wow. Yeah, man,
I
it
think.
doesn't feel like it was that long.
No. Yeah, it wasn't Heaven Knows. No, when was Heaven Knows What?
I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I don't remember anything. So. Any spray. Yeah, it was a super choice.
Yeah, it's funny. After I saw this, I wasn't sure if it would make my top 10, but then it is absolutely. Evan, you said the word haunted, and that's a perfect word to describe it, because I haven't been able to get it out of my head for over a month or however long it's been. But
yeah,
yes.
that's the thing. It's really stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to a point where we're not talking about ballots yet, but we may as well, because it sounds like we're gonna have to think about this movie in the balloting. I'm
gonna have to think about it in like a day.
Yeah. and what I mean is like when the movies stick with you, your Little Women's, your Book Smarts, your
Parasites.
your Parasites, your Uncut Gems. Not necessarily your Hidden Lives, which we'll talk about next week.
We will.
It's like, all right, this movie is sticking with me, even though maybe it didn't initially hit me in the gut like some of these other movies did, but I'm still thinking about this one however many days later, and that one I was just like, stop thinking about.
Right.
So
that's always my metric for the films that I consider the best or that I enjoyed the most is, do I think about it? And if I've forgotten about a film, not that it wasn't good, but just maybe not as good as other films. Yeah. So if it sticks with me, if I'm haunted by it, if I keep revisiting it over and over and over, for me, that's usually a sign that I loved it or liked it, or at least thought it was, incredibly well done.
cool.
That definitely falls into my judgment. But the other thing too is, what did I most viscerally react to?
Ooh, that's a
and
good one
this
too.
film, I viscerally reacted to it. Like, we talked about it. I was slumping in a chair. I was like all over the place. That to me is when I know that I really enjoyed a film, because I forgot literally everything else was happening. I was zoned in on this, and my body was feeling this.
Yes.
It felt the toll of watching this movie.
That's how I felt watching The Florida Project. I was just
oh
like,
my God, same. Same. I mean, Florida Project was my number one film of that year. Yeah, I absolutely love Sean Baker's films, and I love that film. But yes, I also had a similar experience. But yeah, it's very rare that I feel this tense and this anxious.
Yeah.
And yeah, just yeah, the visceral reaction. Yes, it's
cool.
strong with this one.
Ness. I said cool, and then Ness. Coolness.
Very nice.
I feel like that's a good note to end on.
Sure.
So
I'm
let's
okay with
see.
that.
We would say C, Queen and Slim. I would say C, Dark Waters. You said see it, but for the story, but not because it's a great film.
Right. I would probably say read the New York,
read the New York Times
Magazine article instead.
It's shocking stuff. Bombshell, I would say I want people to, for the content of it.
It's a reluctant go see it.
Yeah, I would say go see it because the acting is so good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I could get on board with that.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't feel right about telling people to skip it, but I really wish it was much better than it was.
Right, and it has moments of, dare I say, brilliance.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
Usually involving Margot Robbie.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually, yeah. Yeah. I think it is always
Yeah.
Margot Robbie in the scene.
Yeah. I think part of the problem, maybe, and I'm sorry, is like Charlize Theron's so good, you kind of dislike her because she's Megyn Kelly.
Yeah, you kind of forget
great
about her
point.
in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She kind of just is absorbed into that role.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's so good in this. Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
Good point. Good
Yeah.
way, good description.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I would say see it just
So
for the
see
acting.
Bombshell, and then of course we fucking see
Yes.
see Uncut Gems.
But brace yourselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Prepare for
Steel
the
yourself.
claustrophobic. Yeah, gird your loins.
You know how you know you're charismatic? When you can slap a smoothie into a woman's face and then the next day she's like, I'll go take this bet for you. And
yeah.
in
I love you, and I got a
Sun.
tattoo of you on my.
I know.
hip.
I remember thinking that, being like, oh, maybe he is charismatic. I don't know. Ah, so creepy.
Or they just have a really toxic relationship.
Yes, no, I'm not suggesting that this is kosher in any way.
Good
I'm
use of the
just-
word kosher.
Thank
It's a very Jewish film.
It's appropriate.
We didn't even talk about that, but that's for another day. See Uncut Gems. And
Yes, definitely see Uncut Gems.
so that wraps up this week's episode of Spoiler Piece Theater. You can find the show anywhere you get podcasts, but you can also head over to our website, which is spoilerpiece.com. Please rate and review us on whatever podcast platform you prefer. That helps other people find the show, and we really appreciate it. And let's see, you can get in touch with us if you email us, spoilerpiece@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram. We're at Spoilerpiece there. We are on Facebook as Spoiler Piece Theater. You can give us a call.
At 862-21-PEACE.
Yep, you can leave us a message. Tell us whether you agree, disagree, or just say hi. We like hearing from you guys.
Hey.
And if you really, really enjoy the show, highly recommend signing up for our Patreon. You go to patreon.com/spoilerpiece. This week we have exclusive audio where we discuss the film Waves in depth. And yeah, it's for as low as $5 a month. You get access to exclusive audio. You get to vote in polls where you guys get to pick which movies we watch. And there's even a special tier where you can just straight up pick movies for us to watch and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, which we need a movie.
Yes.
We're owed one.
We're
sort
waiting.
of.
We're waiting on a movie from that patron. Wink. Oh, did I just say wink? Okay. So yeah, head over to our Patreon, toss us a couple bucks, and we'll make it worth your while.
And if you're a patron, vote in the poll.
Yeah,
that too.
please vote in the poll, because this month's poll is about Christmas movies that aren't Christmas movies, which is to say your Nice Guys, your Long Kiss Goodnights, your Batman Returns, movies of that thing. Movies that take place at Christmas but are not Christmas movies.
Mm-hmm.
The Godfather, for example. Not a Christmas movie, but I watch it on the 17th every year.
Nice.
Good
So,
tradition.
thank you for listening. My name is Evan Crean. I am editor for The Independent. I am co-chair of BAFCA. I am co-author of Your Idiot's Movie Guide to Better Living. And you can follow me on Twitter and on Letterboxd as Real Recon.
I'm Megan Kearns. I'm a freelance writer and film critic, editor of Bitchflix, and a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association. And you can find me on Twitter at OpinionSWorld.
My name is Dave Riedel. I write for Salt Lake City Weekly, Orlando Weekly, and you can find me on the tweets and the grams and the Letterboxd as Dave
On the
Sees
boxes.
Movies. Bye.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.